Hey there, I'm Kathy with the Traveling Homesteader and Gyroscope Farm, and today, you might see and hear, got a couple guests. Actually, I'm the guest. So today, in this week, I get an opportunity to help feed a friend's goats, and they live just up the hill from me, some neighbors, and I thought I'd kind of bring you guys along to see how things are going. So these goats are pygmy goats. They're not quite what we say full size. They're rather small, and at their largest, they're maybe between 30 and 45 pounds. And this batch, all the girls have had their babies. In fact, I was here just on Saturday, a couple days ago, when one of them gave birth to twins. So all the girls that they have had given birth to triplets, except one who was a bit of an accidental birth or accidental pregnancy, and she gave birth to twins. And I'll show you them in just a little bit. But I thought I'd let you check out the guys I got to visit today. So this is the welcome I get at the door. Come on, littles. Oh, and there's one of the littles. And the others are hanging out right there on the stump, as little goats do, or kids do. So the cool part about these goats is that they have access to their hay in these kind of hay blocks, and then they're the little ones who are just coming to say hello. And they're way sweet. Yeah. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 over there to 3 mothers. And that's one of the moms in the doorway. And then here's mama number 2, the purple collar, looking kind of stealth. And the third mom is right there. And these goats, while their breed escapes me, they are actually known as milking goats. And so not only are their udders, like over here, large because of their kids that they just gave birth to not that long ago, but also because they're milking goats. What's that? She's like, I gotta check this all out. So the couple who I'm working with these animals decided to do, they wanted to make cheese, but then also I believe they wanted to make something called kefir, which is like a variation of yogurt, a drinkable yogurt. This is one of their other goats, and she has her triplets right down here. In fact, she's not going to be up top. In fact, she is the second most recent goat to give birth to her triplets. And believe it or not, there are 3 little goats right down there. One is so black, they can kind of hardly see him. Right there. Then there's a second one, you can see their nose back there, and there's the one you can see really well. And they're maybe a week old, if that. So mama's looking pretty good, I think. And so luckily, this is kind of a nice setup. That the reason why the goat's looking out the door is because she has access to outside over there. As you can see, that they each have their own bit of pasture that they can all go exploring. These goats and the goats next door, which we just saw, right over here, they have nice access to hay and a couple of spaces and grain. So these guys also have their outdoor over there, you can see across the stall, which is kind of a nice setup that these goats have this opportunity. They're going to have warm shelter as they need it, but then they have accessibility to go outside as well. And of course, I almost expect that every goat has to have something of a play structure like this that they can kind of go climbing on and kind of do their thing. now that you have my buddies back here, it's really kind of nice to chat about the things that we can do to learn how to do different skills for homesteading or self-reliance. In this case, my friends I've known for years, and they literally just live up the hill, and they've had chickens, they've had horses. They've had these goats now, and I think they started about 2 years ago with goats, which is really kind of neat because I've never had goats. And now I get to come up and kind of interact when they're gone and kind of test the waters, as it were, to kind of play with the goats and see how they are to feed or to interact with. And so far, it's been really rather pleasant. They're easy to get along with. They are escape artists, as I've heard and learned, and as my neighbors have said. They do have a tendency to escape when they have that desire to. In this case, they happen to use an electric fencing setup, so we have to be aware of the electric fencing around their property to know when it's on or off, and that kind of be able to find where the goats get out, if they get out. Now, I'd really suggest that if you have an opportunity to go and check out something like this and help somebody, just to learn before you go and do, this would be a great opportunity to kind of learn about how to raise animals if you haven't raised them before. And as you can see in the back, that sometimes they like to play, and you kind of get to see them interacting with each other when there's a grouping of them. More times than not, when you have animals, you should have at least two. And usually, it's probably better to have them the same sex, or like both males or both females, unless you're purposely going to breed them. But even then, you should probably start with two of one sex so that you can see how they interact with each other. Most times, more times than not, people will have animals like this one man that I see, he has pigs for breeding so he can breed them to then raise the meat for farmers markets. So he has 2 sows and whatever the unneutered male is in pigs. Basically, he has 2 breeding females and a breeding male that he will breed each year, and then he'll raise the 2 litters of pigs and raise those pigs for meat at market for the year. And by doing that, he's able to keep the 2 sows separate from the 1 male, and then he can know when to breed them for what season, and that's kind of helpful. And then he puts all the piglets together in stages in certain locations on his property to help them fatten up and do their job to grow. And you could do that with goats, with sheep, with horses, with cows. You can do that in a variety of ways, and usually the females are a little bit more prized than the males. And so usually, at least when I was in sheep, having too many males was not what the best thing was. I usually wanted more females because then they could be used for breeding and all that sort of good stuff. But you also want to know what you're out to get. If your purpose is to, like my friends, have goat's milk for cheese or kefir or yogurt, then you want to know what the best is for variety. So like my friends, you want to know what would be the best variety for your circumstances and what you want to do. In this case, they wanted a smaller goat, so they went with a pygmy-sized goat that were milking goats. But there are larger goats that milk as well. Nubian goats are one of them I can think offhand. If you want to do cattle or sheep, maybe sheep you want to do for wool instead of their meat, in which case there's Romneys or Icelandic sheep. So you can kind of test the waters by going to other people's homes or farms and kind of house sitting, as it were, or farm sitting for them to kind of try out what's available. So I hope you enjoyed this little trip to somebody else's farm and seeing some goats, and it's been really fun kind of visiting. And if you have any questions or comments, just leave them down below. And remember, if you haven't already and you really enjoy what you see, hit the subscribe button and come on over to YouTube and make sure that you check us out and keep coming back for new videos.